Welcome everyone to Mail Fuzz TV. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Star Trek Deep Space Nine Season 2, Episode 24. It's called The Collaborator. So spoilers for the episode as always. So yeah, this is another big episode for the ongoing kind of mythos, but more from the Bajoran side, right? Because by the end of this episode we have a new president, the Kai is what they call it. To be a second, my brain had to process. What did they call it? It's the Kai. But Nurse Ratched is back. Vadic win, and like, is it just me, or is every single scene she's in, you can, like, there's just this like, I'm doing the smiling political talk, but you can just tell the vile intent behind the words is there. Every single, like, she's just such a bullshitter with a shitting grin on her face, like, the entire time. She's always plotting, always colluding, and trying to manipulate things to her way, which has always been the case, but, like, I feel like she never turns it off. It's always there.
No, I agree. Is there in everything she does and says.
Honestly, the only time it kind of drops, technically, is the one moment where she steps into Kira and says, don't speak to me with such disrespect again. It felt like for a second the veil came down, and it was like, oh, that's just what she actually thinks in the moment. Whereas most of the time she's like, if the prophets will it, I will never betray the prophets. I hope that we never have to have the misfortune of this conflict. Shut up, you old bat.
I wish we didn't have to hear quite so much about the prophets, I'm not gonna lie.
She's going on about the prophets a lot in this episode. I think the only thing about the episode that I was kind of not that hot on was the kind of every time Vadic Bareil looks into like the hourglass thing, and he gets these like dream sequences of like, what his conscience is doing, like, those were all a bit tedious, and especially like even the first one I thought was tedious. So when we did it like 3 or 4 times throughout the course of the episode, every time I was like, oh, come on, we don't need more of these.
Yeah, I'm not as hot on this episode as you are to begin with, but those moments with the big orange filter on them, not a fan at all.
I mean, I like the main part of the story, which was, Kira dealing with this idea that, that this man she's become romantically involved with, who might become the next Kai, might be guilty of collaborating with Cardassians during the occupation, and then her kind of going on that path of discovery. I like that core part of the plot, and there's some fun sequences with her and Odo throughout, and of course, anytime Quarks get a scene, that's usually a fun moment.
Got at least one gold scene here, yeah.
Oh, it's so good. So the start of his scene where he's like counting out the gold pressed latinum and putting it into the lady's hands, and she's like, nah, more, and I was like, oh god, she's either won a big bet or something at the gambling table, or he owes her money for something, and he's really miserable at like handing over every bar. And then at the end of it, when he's done though, and she walks out happy, he just sort of looks sad and goes, I hate payday. I'm like, this is your employee? This is just you paying your wages?
At least he pays his wages.
True, but I just love that every time he hates it. He hates the fact that he has to pay his workers. It's just such a funny little... It just makes so much sense for Quark that he hates it.
It does, yeah. He'll do it because he has to. He'll honour it, but he'll be miserable about it.
Yes, and also, rule of acquisition 285, no good deed goes unpunished, which... To be honest, that's just a saying. That's not just a rule of acquisition.
And I feel like there was only 285 rules, so that might be the last rule.
Yeah, or let's be honest, does Quark just like make up some extra ones that he wants to tell people?
I wouldn't put it past him.
I feel like he does. I don't think these are all sanctioned rules that are in...
I hope there's a point where someone fact checks him, right? Where he makes up a rule, and they're like, no, it's not. Rule 192 is this.
Someone whips out the Ferengi sacred scroll of rules of acquisition.
Yeah, they're definitely in a book.
Oh dear. So that's like Quark's big scene when Odo and Kira come to him to do some hacking, which he's like, isn't that illegal? And Odo's like, please spare us the... So it's just, I don't know. I was having a good time with that because it's Quark scenes. I always have a good time with those. I mean, I think it's a good episode overall. I like what it does with the Kira and Bareil relationship. I think parts of it are kind of predictable and where it goes and what the extra reveals are going to be. You know, I kind of like, okay, Kira believes in him too much, so obviously he's somewhat guilty. But then by the time we actually get that confirmation to a point, I'm like, it feels like he's probably just covering for someone else. And that's exactly what the end of the episode ends up being. And it's just this acceptance of, okay, the person we all didn't want to be in charge, the person who was politicking, because the whole reason any of this comes out is because this collaborator from before, someone who was like a liaison to the Cardassians during the occupation, has come back to the station. He's recognized, and someone calls him out, and he's put in a cell. But all of a sudden, Vadik Wynn has went to see him and now wants to give him sanctuary. And it's like, oh, he's told her something that she can use to get some political points or something. And it turns out it's accusing Burrell of being a collaborator, of being the person who's behind this massacre that happened during the occupation. We find out there was like a rebel camp, not a refugee camp, a rebel camp of Bajoran soldiers, 40-something of them who were all killed because someone gave up the Cardassians the location of where this base was. And the person who actually made that call, or was believed to have made that call back in the day, was already kind of found guilty and killed himself out of guilt and shame. But the reveal here is that this collaborator saying, no, he was just a messenger. Someone told him to tell the Cardassians. Someone made that choice. And the accusation is that Vadik Burrell is the one who's done this. And if this comes out or is true, like, everyone's going to hate him on Bajor, and there's no way he will win the quote-unquote election, if you can even call it that. But
I think you can call it that.
I mean, they say they're voting. Like, they talk about making a vote at one point.
I think it's my impression is it's more like a vote for a new pope than like an election.
It's a small team of people who are voting. That said, though, Kira's apparently voting, so it's not like just the people in the religious chamber doing it.
That's true.
So yeah, maybe it's like above a certain rank in the Bajoran like government. You get a role, you get a say.
This is part of why I had a problem with this. It's not that it's a bad episode, because it's not. It's that I just find myself struggling to care about Vadik Burrell. I always have. I don't connect with this Bajoran religious politics that much.
I think that's fair. I think Wynn's more engaging, because every scene Wynn has in this episode where she goes to, like, there's a scene earlier on where she goes to Cisco, and Cisco's not in a lot of this episode again. Like, this is definitely focused more on Kira and these other characters. Odo gets a lot of screen time as well, because he's invested in pursuing the truth, as he always is. But there's a scene where Wynn goes to Cisco, and she's like, hey, you seem to have a negative opinion. And, you know, Cisco knows what she's like, so he's got a big shit-eating grin on his face as well. He's playing the game. He's like, the tennis balls going backwards and forwards as they're playing verbal chess. She's like, oh, you seem to have this idea of me. Oh, just because the last time I was on the station, there was an assassination attempt and stuff happened. There was violence. Like, you know, you must understand, I would never want such a thing. And ultimately, what she's there to suggest is, oh, well, we both agree that the Federation has a place in Bajor's future. I'm glad we're friends now. Hey, why don't you appear with me in front of an audience to show our new friendship and tell everyone? And Cisco, being a smart guy, is like, well, let's wait a week, shall we? I think if we do it before the election, it might look like an endorsement. And I would not like to, and it's like, that's clearly what she wants. She wants to, and she's like, oh, no one will think it's an endorsement. Oh, absolutely. Like, she's playing the game. You can tell what she's doing. And the case in point is at the end of the episode, when she's already been elected Kai, she's like, oh, tell Commander Cisco we will have to delay that appearance together to a future undetermined date.
It's not point anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that part of it.
I agree. I think the thing is, she is she's interesting because she's always got an angle.
Mm-hmm.
And Burrell is bland. He's just, I just don't care about anything that he does because he's so uninteresting. And you're supposed to root for him because he's the good guy, right? And I get that. And you want him to win the election because he's the good one. He's the morally right one. He's not the scheming, conniving backstabber. But he's just not interested. I don't. Every time he's on screen, I'm just check out a little bit.
He's a bit
because
tepid. Yeah, I think in this episode you're not really meant to be rooting for, because I think from early on you're meant to be suspecting him of like having done bad stuff. So I don't think you're meant to root for him in this episode in particular, at least for most of it.
Do you know what? I can put it in terms of your language. Yeah, okay. I'm going to reference the hit television series.
Oh, here we go.
What's the boring ass boyfriend called in like the earlier seasons? Season like 2?
Are you sure you're talking about season 4, Riley? Is that what you're talking about?
Is that 4? Then
yeah. College.
Yeah.
When she goes to college, yeah. Riley's like after Angels.
Season 4?
That's season 4.
Oh my god. I thought that was earlier than that.
I mean, season 2 is like all the angel plot. Like,
honestly, it's been a while. I don't remember.
Okay, apparently.
That felt earlier to me. The general consensus people have about him, that's how I feel about Burrell.
That's fair. I don't think it's as big a deal though, because I'm not even defending him because I don't necessarily think he's that exciting either. I think he serves a purpose in the politics of Bajor. He serves a purpose in that Kira cares about him, and that's so. I'm only interested in him and how like he fits into these things for the other characters and ideas that are more interesting.
I agree, but the problem is it has a ripple effect where, because I feel that way about him, it's so strong that I feel how bland he is, that I don't care about his relationship with Kira. And it means like all this that's supposed to have a lot of weight in this episode, all the stuff that's supposed to be strong about her doubting him and like, oh, you know, she believes him so fervently, and then has to like be like, oh no, he did do this, like, and has to it's supposed to crush her. And I just don't get that feeling because I can't buy into this relationship.
I don't think I disagree. I think I actually mostly agree. I don't feel strongly about it, but I think I agree with the general idea you're getting at. I think for me, what hits hard a bit more in this episode is just this idea at the end, Wynn's got what she's wanted and she's in power, and now we're all going to have to deal with that. And I think that's an interesting place to leave it on, you know, going forward, you know? Because part of me was actually thinking that the election wouldn't happen this episode. I thought, oh, maybe the finale is going to deal with like the election happening. But then she just walks out at the end as Kai, and I'm like, oh, it's already happened. Never mind.
I agree, which it tells me it's more likely the election will deal with her scheming somehow. Which
I mean, the finale.
What did I say?
The election.
Oh, yes, the finale is more likely to deal with her scheming. And while I say I don't care for this episode very much, I do like what it does going forward. Like, I like where it leaves it. I'm interested in the positions of everyone at the end of the episode. I just found myself kind of bored for the most part watching it.
That's fair. Sounded a lot like what I was saying about the Klingon episode a few ago, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think I'm a bit more forgiving of this episode just because I think it's hitting on a lot of things, at least for Kira and the status quo of Bajor, and like we're both kind of agreeing here that it's when becoming Kai was always going to be the more interesting direction to go in, because now she's a problem that everyone has to deal with, right? And it's something that they can really tackle this idea of like, what stupid policies or roadblocks is she going to put in place that makes it difficult for Deep Space Nine and the others to do what needs to be done, or you know, or create new problems that have to be solved, and so on and so on. And then, you know, that's in the middle of all this McQuai stuff going on with, you know, the zone, right? So all that, and TNG's called it the zone, so we're just calling it the zone now, right? The other show abbreviated
it's just the zone.
It's just
which has
zone.
No connotations to other things ever.
No, it's not. Is that Twilight Zone reference? What are you talking about?
No, what I know. Metro calls it the zone.
Oh, okay. Oh, are you thinking about like Stalker?
And Stalker. Yeah.
Okay, right. All right. Yeah. Okay, I wasn't thinking of that, but
like in my head, the zone feels much more like, because of those things. It feels nuclear. It feels weird. It feels off. Whereas this is just okay. It's short for demilitarized zone. I get it, but
yeah, there's nothing weird about this. It's just it's you know, it's a hot area where, you know, conflict's happening, but it's not weird and mysterious.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So no, I mean, I think we're like leaving us off with her in charge makes a lot of sense for creating more conflict in the future in drama, and you know, decisions that she's going to make either that are good or bad for everything else going on. So it makes a lot of sense, and because they've done the backstory with her over a few episodes now of showing that she isn't to be trusted, that she is willing to scheme and make power plays, which she's done in the past, and like somehow kind of gotten away with it after the fact, even though all of her main characters are kind of side-eyeing her and know that she's up to no good. She's in power now because she's played the game, and we now have to deal with her. So, and that sadly feels very, true to life. People who should not be in power getting into power, and we all have to suffer for it. Like, that's very much a relatable thing. So it makes sense that that's something that the show's going to deal with as it goes down the line. But yeah, so yeah.
I think for me, I think if this episode had played more on her scheming to set this up, I think I probably would have enjoyed it a bit more. Like, it feels like she kind of stumbled into it, right? And then
she does.
She just does nothing until the end.
But that's the thing, though, is it turns out not to technically be true, because the reveal at the end with Farrell is that he's covering for the previous Kai, because that Kai is the one who made the choice. And the whole reason she made that choice is because, well, either they're going to bomb this entire region of Bajor, killing 1,000 people, or they'll just go after the one camp, and it's only 40 lives versus 1,000. So she made that call. And I mean, at one point, Beryl even claims that he made that decision, but then Kira ultimately finds via O'Brien like proof that he was like away during that week, and he couldn't have been the one making these decisions. Like, it's impossible. And it's like, okay, so I think the personal side of it's a little bit strange. I did like Kira and Odo working together. I liked them kind of looking into things. Obviously, going to Quark was a highlight, like we mentioned, but because we get some more, like, I like them building up kind of the mystique of this massacre that was a big deal. Like, 40 something Bajorans were killed in cold blood, and someone like made that happen by just telling the Cardassians where they were. I like kind of the political intrigue of that backstory being brought up more so than all the prophets say this and that. Here's a vision of your conscience stabbing itself or something. Whatever was going on with Farrell.
Yeah, the prophets provide. They show the truth, and they show it very orangely. But yeah, no, I agree with all of that. I would have had more fun if this had done the same thing, but from a different angle. I think focus more on the fun. Like, they've done it this way because we're supposed to care about Kira and Beryl's relationship. And unfortunately, I don't. So this episode doesn't connect for me, which is why I say I would have enjoyed it more if it had focused more coming from the other side and been about that political scheming, that scene with her and Sisko. I wanted that over the episode. I wanted that back and forth. But
that's what I was kind of bringing up with the ending, though, is that because it turns out that he didn't do this, right? Does Wynn still think he did do this? Or is she just gotten lucky that her bluff led to something that he was willing to take the fall for?
I think that would have been fun, like, to have that angle of like, does she actually know the truth or not? But like, and ultimately, does it matter? Like her story wins either way. And I think that would have been a much more fun and interesting angle to get to this point at the end, and to show her, like, to have her winning this election by being skeevy. Because I mean, she does win the election because she brings this into the open to start off with. She kind of like gets the ball rolling. Yeah. But I think if it had been just a bit more active back and forth between the political sides, that I'd have found that a lot more enjoyable, personally.
No, I get what you're saying, but I'm just kind of judging what it actually gives us. I think the idea that she made Kira do the investigation, so Kira has to like discover all this, and that also feels kind of cruel in her part. Like, she's trying to poke the bear, as it were, with that. So like I think that element's fine, and again further establishes one as this kind of malicious character who's willing to do anything to like get into power and secure her seat at the table and all that. It's interesting to me, though, that this is another Kira-focused episode right after the other, like, last episode. It's interesting that this has happened a few times recently where we got 2 Bashir episodes in a row, it felt like, and then we have 2 Kira episodes in a row. It's interesting how they're mapping these out.
The cynic in me wonders if it's for filming reasons, like if they could film in a block, like they had actors more free at a time, like, because they had other things to do maybe or whatever, and they're like, well, we can We can bundle these two together. We can focus on Kira. We have the others like little bits and pieces here and there, but we can mainly focus on these actors while we've got them, get a couple in, and then they can have a break for a few episodes.
Yeah. Well, I don't even think it's about having a break or having time to film other things. I think it's more just about, we can shoot 2 episodes at the same time because we're using mostly different cast members for most of the scenes. So I think it's more about scheduling amongst its own episodes where, in this episode, you never see Bashir, which is convenient because it means when they were filming some of the previous 2 episodes, they could do some of his scenes at the same time as they're filming some of these Kira scenes in this one.
Yeah, no, that's true. I feel like if that was the case, though, while I agree with the logic, that would lead to alternating episodes.
Yeah, no, I that's why it's weird, because most TV shows, especially these 22-episode TV shows, did this, where at any given time, like 3 episodes would be in production at the same time, and that's why they have different directors. I mean, partly because it's also a lot of work to direct an episode of TV, and it'd be impossible to do 22 back-to-back, but part of the reason is because, it means one director can be working with some of the cast during this set, and then this set over here has been used for this episode, and so on and so on.
That's why I suggested maybe it was more of a scheduling thing, like they were busy, so it's like, okay, we can get them in, do it, and then, but we just have to do it for these 2 episodes because that's what we've got them for.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just speculating more than anything else here. Yeah, I mean, the weird dream prophet sequences really were a bit of a chore. Like every time it got to one of them, it's like you get kind of the idea of what it's doing. It's him playing with his conscience and like seeing himself as the traitor and seeing the previous Kai and all that. It's kind of hinting at the various things. And maybe the biggest sin of the episode is that, well, I don't really care so much about Kira's relationship with Beryl from a, from like a, I care about the 2 of them and their relationship as a whole. I do care about the fact that she like is in a romantic relationship and she is going to be affected by the outcomes of things, which is why it felt like, I could see him being dead by the end of this episode in some sort of shootout, and that's him gone forever. He doesn't feel like he's going to be important enough on his own, but it'll matter to her. The problem with the weird dream prophet sequences, though, is that those are purely about him. They're purely about him and his own guilt. And it feels like they're, one, setting up for the fact that he is behind these things, and it turns out that he's not really. And 2, it is all just purely about how he feels about it, as if we care about him. And I don't think that we've ever been programmed to actually care that much about him specifically as an individual. He represents something. He's there as a cog in the wheel. A cog in the machine, I should say. But I don't think he is that inherently interesting on his own. So during those dream sequences, I'm just kind of like, I mean, I wouldn't love if Kira was having a dream sequence where she was seeing that maybe he's guilty and it was showing that she had those fears like in her subconscious. I still think that would be a little bit cheesy, but at least I respect the fact that I care about what Kira thinks about it. So I care that she's having these fears. Him having fears, or at least it seemed like him having fears of being caught for a lot of those sequences until it's revealed what actually happened by the end. It was just kind of like, okay, let's get on with it. Like, I'm ready to, like, I'm more interested in the investigation side of it than I am his, like, inner, like, prophecy visions or whatever we're calling them.
Yeah, and also with the end reveal, I'm not entirely sure what purpose they serve.
Just
he's
got a secret. Yeah, he's protecting the previous Kai. He's got this secret.
It feels very dramatic to for what the end result is, for what he's guilty about. It feels a little bit overdone.
I guess it's meant to be prepping him to step aside, realizing that his place is to try and help out without being the leader, kind of thing. I guess, I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I was definitely lukewarm on those. The part of the episode where I was just flat out kind of bored and waiting for them to move on. Like, I can't deny that. Like,
no, they were definitely the worst part.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's overall a good episode. All things considered and summed up, but it's definitely not without its faults, and it's definitely not like as good as the last episode was by any stretch.
Definitely not. I think for me, it's hard for me to call it a good episode. I think it's a good Wikipedia entry.
Okay.
I don't even mean that like too derogatorily. I mean, I like what it does on paper. I like where it leaves things. I like the setting. I just didn't have a good time watching it.
Okay. All right. Well, that's the Collaborator. Now, the next Trek video will be the finale to not Deep Space Nine, sorry, to the Next Generation. Yeah, that would have been a hell of a jump if we'd done that. No, the next Trek review will be the finale to Star Trek: The Next Generation. But when we return to Deep Space Nine for the penultimate episode of the season, we've got an episode called Tribunal. Here's what the description on IMDb says. Chief O'Brien goes through the horrific Cardassian judicial system where he is charged for an unknown crime. So we got an O'Brien episode.
And we know the Cardassian judicial system doesn't make mistakes.
Well, I mean, we'll see. Maybe
I actually think this could be gold.
Yeah. One, because O'Brien, I'm sure, will give them a lot of cheek when he's being held captive or whatever, but also because, like, what does the cat have to come in and be like, there was an error in information. No mistakes were made. Let me be clear. No mistakes. Yeah. But there was an error in computer processing or something.
Yeah, I'm very interested.
Yes, so yeah, it could be an interesting one, but that is Tribunal. We'll do that next time on Deep Space Nine. But that is us, so thank you very much for joining us. You can support everything by liking, subscribing, dinging the bell for notifications, and of course you can support all the content by going to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV or via YouTube membership. Support is how we keep going, so please do. Thanks to everyone who already does. Get some bonuses for your trouble. Check out the movie channel, MailFuzz Movies, for all the movie podcasts. But that is me and Connor. We will see you again next time. Keep watching Star Trek, and somewhere out there, Odo fades away like tears in the rain. I had nothing. What do you want?
That might be your worst one yet.